All right, greetings everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I need to get the chat going here, so give me just a second. But I'm going to mostly just be answering questions that were already submitted. If you're a channel member and you happen to be here, you can ask me questions now, or you can ask follow-ups to any questions of yours that you submitted that I'm already answering. But chat is restricted to channel members. That's part of the channel membership perks. So hopefully that won't upset too many people, but I did give you guys a lot of chances to submit questions in advance, and if you didn't get yours answered the first time, you'll be able to submit maybe for a future Q&A live stream. I see we got Matt Brown here. Welcome, Matt Brown. And someone just joined. So welcome aboard. I'm going to butcher your name here. Kronosa2X, Kronosa. So welcome, Kronosa. Thank you for joining at the Admiral level, and you'll be able to ask a question anytime while the stream is on, and I'll be sure to get to it. But I want to go ahead and start with some of the pre-submitted questions from my channel members, and I'll come back and check on the chat here in a moment. So let's go ahead and start with first question is from Kua Milafune. I'm probably going to pronounce everyone's name wrong. One of the biggest story points in DS9 was that Odo was the first and only changeling to ever harm another. It made the gravity of what he did immense. Victory is Life chucked that out the window, making it so that in the Stowe universe, many changelings have been harmed by another in the past. It also made it so the founders were the ones responsible for a big part of Klingon culture, history, and mythology. So on to my question. In the top 5 great things about Stowe video you mentioned in the future-proofing Stowe video, you made a shout out to Victory is Life being a must-play for DS9 fans. With the retcons and changes they did mention above, what part of Victory is Life cancel out the egregious changes and make it overall good story content? Also, what are your thoughts on the above-mentioned changes to Star Trek history and story? And then they go on to say they understand their tastes are subjective. Others may not, agree, but they want to hear my opinion and views as well, and just to know what others think and to get enrich their thoughts. And I did give some thought to this, and I haven't gone back to re-watch the episodes, but my recollection of that is that the only source we have for that no changeling ever harmed another, came from the female changeling. I could be wrong about that though, so if I'm wrong, I'm sorry about that, but I do feel like that's the only place we heard it, or at least we never heard it from someone who wasn't an unreliable narrator. So I've kind of got two outs to this, if you will. The first is that Star Trek Online is not canon, right? A big deal was just made recently about some of the ships being put in the show. If it's not on the screen, on TV or movies, it's not canon. So you could say, well, the changes that were made for Star Trek Online don't count until they're officially canonized. So it's always going to be extended universe stuff. We see this happen a lot with Star Wars. They put out a lot of extended universe stuff, and then it ends up getting delegitimized by, future stuff. So that's one way to look at it, is to say, well, the only valid thing was the DS9 episodes. But I think another interpretation, if you like, is to say that we just had an unreliable narrator. And one of the things I would like to think, because Odo came back and because he, is on our side now and he has his fleet and he's helping us out and everything, is that, she was playing a gambit, right? So we know that a lot of shady stuff went on in the Stowe timeline with the changelings. And so my interpretation of that is that she was manipulating Odo and that they had an official dogma there, but really they were lying about it. And they were hoping they really wanted Odo to come back. And I think her thinking was that once he rejoined the other founders, that he would be not brainwashed, but he would sort of be dogmatized and come around to their side of things. How do we know that we can trust anything the founders say? So I think the opposite happened. That's the view I like to take, which is that when Odo got back with the other founders, actually his point of view became the dominant one and sort of usurped hers. And so it ended up putting him in an even greater position and an even greater point of strength so that he could come back and help us later. So that's the way I choose to view it. But there's two possible interpretations. Frankly, even with the some inconsistencies there, the biggest things I loved about it is that it gave us a chance to get some resolution between Odo and Kira, and also, I mean, come on, we got Garrick. I could just listen to Garrick banter with people all day long, so that alone makes it worth it for me, even if it does maybe mess up some of the canon stuff. Okay, let me check on the chat here, because I know there are some people in here, and I don't see anything in the chat just yet, so I'm going to switch back to the questions I have loaded up here. And the next question, pre-submitted question I have is from Stowe FSK. I don't know if there's a pronunciation for that. What's your red line, do not cross, for cryptic that would make you stop playing the game? So this is an interesting question. I have a lot to say about it. So I am of the opinion that boycotts and red lines don't really work. And I know that that seems a bit hypocritical after I said I was going to be boycotting doing videos for the gambling stuff. But I view that a bit differently, because as a content creator, those videos sort of serve as free advertising. So I feel like that's an extra level that I don't have to do that work for them, if you know what I mean. But in terms of me personally quitting the game, I had done that before, like when a lot of stuff went down with Activision Blizzard, specifically the now I'm blanking on his name, Blitzchung. So when the Blitzchung thing happened, I uninstalled all the games, I quit all my Blizzard stuff, I canceled all my subscriptions and everything, and I was really, really mad about it. But then I watched a couple of videos that really had a big influence on me, and I don't want to bring too much politics into this, I know people don't like it, but I'm more of a lefty. And a lot of these things, really the solution is government intervention, right? So I can sit here and yell at the top of my lungs about the monetization, about the gambling, about the predatory aspects of it and all that. And it particularly affects neurodivergent people. I always bring that up. My son is neurodivergent, and I worry about him getting caught up in this stuff when he's older. But me quitting isn't going to help those people, and it also isn't going to stop them from doing it. So, a lot of people are drawing a red line right now with NFTs, but the solution there is to ban NFTs. The solution is to make loot boxes illegal. So if I really want to do something about it, if it makes me angry, the solution for me is to contact my representatives and my senator and say, listen, we need legislation against that stuff, because that kind of intervention is the only thing that's going to work. Boycotts don't really work. So I'm never going to quit the game over an issue like that, because it doesn't do anything. It just stops me from playing a game I enjoy. If I end up quitting someday, it's going to be because I'm tired of the game and I don't want to play it anymore. And it probably isn't going to be one thing. It's probably just going to be, I slowly play it less and less, and then eventually I just stop, or then maybe there'll be some major life change in real life that will stop me from playing, and then I just won't come back to it. That's the most likely scenario. Okay, I see, Stowe SFK, I see in the chat there, yeah, that's your question. If now's the time, if you have a follow-up to my response, you could go ahead and ask me now. Matt Brown, I just wanted to say how much I love Stowe content, especially yours. Thank you for standing up for everyone who loves this universe. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. So I'll give you a minute to type a follow-up question if you want, but otherwise I'm going to move on to the next one here. I'll come back and check on that in a second. Kind of using my phone here to do both, to read the questions and the chat, so I have to switch back and forth. Sorry, I couldn't find a better setup. I don't have a second monitor right now, so... Denny Tate asks, and I already answered this, but I want to go ahead and read it out on the stream because it's more of a gameplay related question. I'm using phaser and photon torpedoes. Do TAC console buffs stack? Does it make a difference if I have two phaser TAC consoles, or am I better off using something else? Thank you for your time. So it turned out that he's using equal parts phaser and torpedoes, using 4 torpedoes and 4 phasers. In general, the TAC consoles do stack. So if you have two consoles that give 50%, for example, they would give 100% with both of them stacking. They don't double dip. In order for that, you have to have different damage categories, and that is way beyond the scope of this video, but I did answer his question in the chat. And also, I do have some DPS guide videos that go over this in much more detail. All right, I'm taking a look at the chat here. And Interesting perspective. I don't agree that boycotts don't work, but I think you're right that on an individual level, they don't. Boycotts need mass movement for them to work. I do think boycotts could work if enough people did boycott and they actually stuck to it. I agree. I think in theory, boycotts would work. I just think in practice, they don't work. And me boycotting definitely isn't going to do anything. Welcome, Trias. Welcome to the stream. Nice to see you here. No problem answering your question. And if you have more to say, feel free to put it in the chat. Okay, let's get back to the member submitted questions. Not a sock puppet asked, can you please explain how you became so attractive? Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess just good genetics. I mean, maybe it's all the whiskey. I don't know. I couldn't tell you for sure. But thank you, Not a Sock Puppet. That was and a channel member as well. That's very great. Great question. Okay, Simon D asks, what's your favorite ship and why? So my camera seems to have gotten blurry. I don't know what's going on with that. Hopefully that's not the whiskey and it is actually the camera. But what I can see of it, it looks blurry all of a sudden. So I don't know what's going on with that. Hopefully it's not a bitrate problem or something. Anyway, Simon D asks, what's your favorite ship and why? So I gave some thought to this question. And my answer is the Verity, the Legendary Odyssey. And the reason why I kind of went with a desert island approach to this question, because it's really impossible to pick a favorite ship, I think. But when I think about all the possible things I could want from a ship, it checks the most boxes. And so it's an Enterprise, and it has my favorite Enterprise design, which is the Odyssey. It has a hangar bay. The full command spec means you can tank with it and you can do kinetic DPS. So I just think across the board, it has the most to offer. So it's sort of like if I could only have one ship, right? Most of the time we get ships for traits and stuff, but like if I could only have one ship, I mean, I kind of think that has to be pretty high on the list. So I'm going to go with that as an answer. All right, I'm going to come back and check the live chat here. Hello, Gowdy Man. Nice to see you here. Thanks for joining me. Camera stole some whiskey? Yeah, it might have. I don't know. I don't think it was a problem with the camera. I think my internet may have just been wonky there. All right, so that's the last of the member submitted questions, but we have more questions submitted from non-members, and everyone is valuable to me, and I appreciate every question that was submitted. So Waldo Online asks, what guilty pleasure ship do you enjoy flying? And it's a similar but very different question from the last one. So my favorite guilty pleasure ship is the Alachi Command Dreadnought Cruiser. Now, it has a engineering commander seat, vanilla, no specialization on it, and so it's not aged terribly well in that regard. But I really do like a lot of the Alachi stuff, especially when you put all the consoles and stuff on there and everything. It's got that support craft that detaches and all that. So, I think that's definitely my answer for that one. A real person asked, how did you get so talented and how can I become as talented as you are? You can't. I'm sorry. I took all the talent for myself and I'm a bit stingy with it. I might be willing to give out a little bit, but yeah, sorry about that. Katniss asked, not so much a question as a desire for the devs. I'm going to turn this into a question. Not so much a question as a desire for the devs to figure out how to do a visual audio overrides for the weapons. There's some more there, but I'm going to transform that into a question to say, what are my feelings about that? And even though I'm not the biggest space Barbie guy in the world, I definitely think they should do it. And I definitely think they should make it a priority. People have been asking for it for years. Give us the option to change the way our weapons look, because even among the same type, like phasers or whatever, you can have different weapons that look different, and people want to have that consistent look. And maybe even have presets too. Instead of just having it like the shields and all that, where you can put a vanity option on, give us some presets to say, hey, I want my weapons to look like TNG weapons, or I want my weapons to look like TOS weapons, and have that be a setting where you just one click and you're done, right? or to say make it look appropriate to the era of the ship that I'm flying. So if I'm flying a maybe one master setting, in the actual settings menu, where it give me era appropriate visuals for my ship. And then if I go into a TOS ship, I get TOS visuals on all the weapons. And then if I switch to a TNG ship, I get TNG visuals. I would love to see that, and I definitely think they should do it. All right, let me check in on the chat here. The Odyssey is the Sovereign's overweight and out of shape sister. Ouch! Oh, those are fighting words right there. Goudy Man says, I didn't get a chance to ask a question before the stream, but if you'll indulge me, of course. How do you motivate yourself to make content? So that's a really interesting question. About half of the content is reactionary. So for example, if I do a video about news that comes out, well, that happens whenever there's news. So it's in response to something that's happening in the game. I don't really have to be motivated to do that. It's just whenever there's something major happening, I do a video in response. But in terms of the content where it's just me doing it myself, my biggest thing is that I make the videos that I wish other people were making, but they don't. In other words, I try to make the videos that I want to watch that other people aren't making, if that makes sense. So that's where I get my motivation from. Okay, keep going here. We got some more chat there. I enjoyed the Quailosh, for a while back in the day. I like that one too. I really enjoy that one. The Odyssey is beautiful. Don't bully her. Exactly, I agree. Goudy Man. No bullying for the Odyssey. I like the Sovereign too. The Sovereign's also good. Instead of thinking of it that way, I prefer to think of it as the Odyssey is the big beefy brother to the Sovereign. So make it positive. A Trias, purchasable presets. Think of the cache. Yeah, make them. Let's go full cryptic on this and make them lockbox rewards. Like the vanity shields from the weapon packs. So you have a very small chance when opening a weapon pack of getting a preset. Terrible. All right, let's come back to the pre-submitted questions here. Stephen Watson asks, do you have any suggestions for some ships to buy from the Reputation Tier 6 fleet ship tokens? And the answer I was originally going to give is that I already did a video about that, my top 4 fleet ships. But the thing is, there have been some changes. So in that video, I wanted to do one ship per specialization, but I didn't include any Intel ships because I just thought that I thought all of them were worse versions of other fleet ships. But that's going to be changing real soon. So not only did we get the Intel update, which Bordicus still needs to be paid for, by the way, but we're also going to be getting the trait from the legendary Jim Hadar ship coming up next week, which is going to make surgical strikes way better. And probably better than beam overload, I imagine. We don't know for sure yet, but I think the stock value, if you will, of Intel ships is going to go up a lot next week. And so if I were going to do that video again, I would definitely include an Intel ship. But I don't have a suggestion for an Intel ship right now, a fleet one anyway. But because it's one of those things where it's like, well, if you already have the Arbiter, the Fleet Arbiter might be okay, but I think the Arbiter is kind of outdated. There are plenty of good Intel ships out there, though. You'd want a full Intel ship, though. So I would say look for full Intel ships, and then for the other ships, you could check out that video, my top 4 fleet ships. Off the top of my head, I want to say it's the Clark, it's the Oberth, it's that gives you temporal, that gives you command. Miracle Worker was the Gagarin, and pilot, I think I picked the Tier 6 Nova. I don't remember what it's called anymore. I always mix up the fleet names and the C-store names, but those are the ships that I picked for that. Jessica Cole asks, what has been the most unexpected part of having a YouTube channel, and what are your favorite and least favorite parts of running one? So the most unexpected part, and is also my least favorite part, which is the taxes. The taxes blindsided me, and YouTube really does not do a good enough job, in my opinion, of letting you know what you're getting into. because it was very easy to set up. They obviously encourage you to do it because they make money off of it. And the implication I got from all the communications is that because I was a U.S. citizen, they were withholding the taxes for me, and I thought that I didn't have to do anything and that it was already being removed, and that the amount I was getting was already reflected of the taxes being taken out. That is not true. And so the taxes ended up being something of a nightmare. But what is my favorite part? My favorite part is, well, other than just being part of the community, which is a big one, so I guess I have two answers for this. So one is that I've been able to be involved with the community. I've met a lot of people that I enjoy talking to, and I really enjoy that. Like right now, what's happening right now, I'm hanging out with all you guys. That's really great. The other thing I really love about it is that it's given me a lot of opportunities to learn new skills and to sort of improve skills I already had. So I've learned video editing, audio editing, thumbnail editing, all that kind of stuff. I got a microphone here. I got a light. You can't see it. I got like a YouTuber light and everything. So I've just been able to turn it into a hobby, and it's given me an outlet to learn new things and to grow in that way. Let me check in on the chat before I get to more questions. I got some chat to catch up on here. The thing I want is to be able to see what the ships look like in the Lobby store. This is Denny Tate, and the promo ship list for the event campaign. Yeah, I guess you can't see the list. It might be on the wiki. I don't know off the top of my head. I think the wiki might have the list. It'll definitely have the list for last year, and then what you can do is you can just take that list and add any ship that was released last year, because the only ones that will be excluded are the ones that are being released this year. So even if you can't find the correct one, look at the one from last year and just add in any ships that were released last year. Casual SAB says Return of the Vengeance next week. Definitely Return of the. It's going to return with Fury. It's going to return. There's some word for it. I can't really remember, but anyway, it's going to return. It's going to be really angry. Kuya Milifune, well, probably can't. No, I'm not pronouncing. It's only 4 letters, but there's no way I can pronounce it. Kuya. I think I showed up a bit late and missed the answer to my question. I guess that'll be an extra view later for the algorithm when the on-demand version gets posted. Yeah, sorry, I think I answered your question first. But it was a bit of a long question and answer, so I don't want to repeat it now. But it was a very interesting question, and I really appreciated it. And so definitely check out the VOD when this is over, because I enjoyed your question quite a bit. Matt Brown asks, I would love a top 10 Lobby promo C-Store ship list updated for the new free prize for the yearly event. Please, will you be doing an updated version of your previous top 10 or maybe even top 12? So I did a top 10 for last year's event prize, I think. It was my top 10 promo ship list, which I edited to only include ships that were available for that event prize. And I am definitely way behind and have been planning all year to do an updated version of my top 10 C-Store ships, because that list is badly outdated. Like, I think maybe only 1 or 2 ships are going to survive the new version of that list. So yes, I definitely need to do that, and I'm definitely planning to do it. A Triaz says, wow, the only full Intel fleet ships are the classic ones and the Somerville Honor Bus. Yikes. Yeah, it's there's a lot of, they put out a lot of Intel ships, but not a lot of Intel fleet ships. But it's, with all these new buffs coming to Intel, maybe some of those old ones will still be good. All right, Stowe FSK, how many videos content do you have planned in advance versus how much slack do you have for unplanned reaction videos for news? So I tried doing a schedule a little while back here, and I had I was going to do free to play and Stowcast and dry dock and on patrol, and the dry dock and the patrol videos didn't do very well, and I redid the dry dock video and the one video I did where I did it in a different format, because I've been trying to make the videos shorter, better edited. I'm trying to use more B-roll footage and just make them more shorter, get the same amount of content but condense it into a shorter video. So my goal is that when you watch one of my videos, you feel like it was longer and meatier than the actual runtime would suggest. Like if it's 3 minutes long, you think, oh, 3 minutes, that's not very long. But then when you finish it, you're like, oh man, I feel like I watched an 8-minute video. So, that stuff's still kind of in the air. I'm still working through that. The patrol videos, I really liked. I like the way they turned out. I did 2. I did the 9th rule and I did rescue and search, and I thought they turned out great. I'm very happy with those videos, but it's not, relatively speaking, they've been unpopular, so I don't know what's going to happen with that. I'm trying to put more of a focus on the Stocasts and turn them more into video essays. If you watch the Nothing to Do, the last one I did, that was definitely way more edited. I want to try and make it more like that in the future. So I might cut back on some of the planned videos, but I'm going to put more effort into the ones that I do. Definitely the free-to-play is still on. The video essays are still on. And then the rest of the stuff, I'm still working through that. There's usually news once a week or maybe once every couple weeks, so that normally comes up. And then also I'm getting ready to move in real life. We're selling our apartment and we're going to be moving, so that kind of makes things crazy and means that the schedule isn't always necessarily what I want it to be. Okay, I don't know if that question made sense. Well, I hope it did, because I just spent a long time answering it. Okay, it has the list, but not a picture of what it looks like, and not a tab you can open to see it. Yeah, I don't know if there's any way for me to help you with that right now, but maybe for the VOD, when this is over, I'll go into the comments and put something in there that you could click on. Gouty Man says, I still would love to collaborate with you on a video, perhaps on my Learning Stow series. You have a knowledge about certain mechanics that I do not, and it would be great to have your help. I'd love to. One of the things I would like to do is more collaborations with other stow tubers. I did a stowcast with Spencer, and it went really, really well. And I've been talking to, I talked with Mixed Stew, I call him Mixed Stew, MC Stew, to do something with him, and he's down for it. Haven't really made it work because, like I said, my schedule's a little bit uncertain right now because we're moving, so I haven't committed to as much of that stuff, but I would like to do more of it in the future. So yeah, definitely, Gouty Man, I'd be happy to do a video with you. A Triaz, I loved the rescue and search video. Kumar K is a gem. Thank you very much. I know people did watch it and they did enjoy it, and I definitely will probably make more. I'm just not going to make one every week like I thought I was. Okay, Ghost 101 says, does changes to Intel change your opinions on some ships? And I kind of alluded to this answer earlier, but the changes to Intel alone don't really change anything for me too much. But I think the changes to Intel combined with the new trait coming next week probably will. So I think when we have the extender trait and we have, so surgical strikes might really come back with a fury. I think that probably will change things, yeah. Charlie asks, how do we keep our Defiance from disappearing under rapid fire or scatter volley? I mean, come on, half the time my little ship is blurred out. Yeah, that is a problem with the small ships. I don't know if that was supposed to be a serious question or not, but whenever I fly small ships, I tend to zoom the camera in pretty far just so I can see it better. So assuming it was a real question, that's my solution to that. Whenever I fly tiny ships, I zoom in. All right, Rajanmeister asks, what do you think of legendary ships, and how is this just a scam to force people to buy again all over the tier 6 ships paying more now? There are things about the game I would definitely call a scam. I don't think the legendary ships are a scam, but I do think they indicate something very strongly, which is that they definitely are moving away from selling individual C-store ships. Their model seems to be a Pareto principle, 80-20 rule. We already knew that they go whaling, but I think they're doubling down on that. And so clearly they want to get more money from fewer players. And they could not scream that any louder without actually saying it out loud. Because if you look at everything that came out last year, it was the mud bundles, the legendary ships, the anniversary ship packs, the gambling, of course, like normal. These captain bundles tend to be twice the price of a regular ship, and they justify that by adding the extra stuff in. They cut back this latest one because of the ridiculous 5-level boost. But, it all, and even the individual ships they did release were also part of a bundle that had exclusive items. So the 12th anniversary bundle did have those individual ships in it, but you couldn't get the Mirror Strikewing Escort if you didn't get the full bundle. Or you look last year at the Genesis bundle or the Agile Classics bundle. So even when they do give us those individual ships, it comes alongside a bundle that they would rather you buy instead. So they definitely want you fewer people to spend more money. I think that is the trend that they're going for. So the stuff is overpriced for sure, but it's not deceptive. It isn't predatory in the way the gambling stuff is. So it's kind of lousy and overpriced, but I would probably stop short of calling it a scam. And they do come with new traits, so it's not like you're complete and new skins. So, you wouldn't expect me to defend it. I'm not exactly defending it, but I do think you're getting something new for your money, and it's an upfront cost for a known product. You know what you're paying for, so I don't think I could call it a scam. All right, let me check back on the chat here. We have Kentari Ferocity turns my small ships into a little red dwarf. Yeah, some of the special effects you can get from different abilities. People have been complaining about ability spam for a long time, where the screen is just full of nonsense and you can barely see what's going on. And, half the time when you get something new, unless you go out and intentionally use it by itself, it's hard to even know what it looks like because it's being mixed in with so much other stuff. All right, it looks like that's the end of the submitted questions, but checking in on the live chat here, and we have a question here from Casual SAB Spencer, and it says here that this is definitely a real question that he's actually asking and not me just setting him up here. It says, how do I get good? And the answer to that is you have to play an engineer. So sorry, but you're going to have to play an engineer. If you want to get good, everyone knows the engineers are the master race. So you're going to have to get with the program, I'm afraid. So sorry about that. Okay, well, that is the end of all of the pre-submitted questions, but we do have quite a few people in the members-only chat right now. So I'm going to just hang out for a couple more minutes here and give anyone else in the live chat a chance to ask any more questions before we hang it up. If you didn't hear the answer to your question or you're coming in late, this will be up as a video afterwards, so you can go back and find the answer to your question or find the answers to questions that you missed out on. Spencer just said I was going to type that earlier. Of course. Who wouldn't want to know how to get good? Engineer sticks meta? Yeah, absolutely. Sticks and stones can break my bones, and that's what we're going for. No one wants to fight with words. We need a stone ship now so we can have sticks and stones. All right. Well, I'm going to give it a little bit longer here to see if anyone else has a question. And then we're probably going to hang it up. And there's 41 people here, so I kind of want to keep it going, but I don't have anything else to talk about. Ran out of questions. I was going to add a line in my new video about making your first character to make your first character an engineer. It does make the game easier in the beginning. And one thing I think a lot of people definitely overlook, because let's be honest, you got the space game and you got the ground game. And overwhelmingly, people prefer the space game, including myself. So people tend to ignore the ground stuff altogether. But if you're playing through the game for the first time, especially, and you're doing it the intended way, and you're doing all the missions and everything, because you haven't played them a dozen times like I have, the ground stuff is going to be a big part of your experience. And there's no doubt in my mind that when it comes to ground, engineers are the best. Not just because they're the easiest, but they're also the most fun by like a lot. I way prefer an engineer on the ground. They have the best kit modules, makes all the other ones look like garbage. The universal ones that everyone can get, there's a lot of good ones, but that's more like when you're max level. But for the leveling experience, way prefer an engineer for all the ground stuff, for sure. And then, of course, you got your emergency get out of jail free card button with miraculous repairs, which I'll still always remember as Miracle Worker before they changed it. Engineers have to work harder to do DPS. That's true. If you care about DPS. If you don't care about DPS, then it's fine. Spencer asks, how do I make the spheres not spawn in 10 seconds after the sides go down in ISE? I don't know. I guess you just have to. I guess you just have to get better. You know. I guess you just haven't got. I guess you just haven't got getting gooder enough. You haven't gotten. What is the phrase for that? What is the tense for that? For get good? You haven't gotten gooder. Is that what it would be? I don't even know how you would say that. You just have to try harder. Jeez. Anchor of Grethor. Augmented Dictator recently revealed he was former Navy, your former Army. Which branch wins? I think we all know. I think we all know the answer to that. Hooah! It's the Army. We may not be able to swim, but there's more of us. So, yeah, I'm an Army vet, and he's a Navy vet, and I guess we'll find out that MC Stu is a Marine vet, maybe. I don't know who's the Coast Guard guy. Don't take that seriously, though. I don't know if MC Stu was ever in the military, so I don't want anyone to accidentally think I was saying something serious there. Getting gooder. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Why do you think so many people are opposed to a battle pass? It would solve many of the game's issues and would potentially remove lockbox and promo ships. I agree. I've been an advocate for a battle pass for like a couple of years now. I think it would be a good addition to the game. And I think an easy way they could do it is to just take all the events. I know why they're not going to do it, but to just take all the events that they normally put throughout the year and just incorporate it into a battle pass. They already have us doing events all year long. So just instead of having those rewards be tied to the events, just have them be tied to the battle pass instead. So that way people can do what they want instead of them saying, oh, you got to play this mission 14 times or whatever. Let people earn progress however they want. So if people want to earn progress by doing whatever it is they like to do in the game, they can do it, and they're not forced to do a specific thing over and over again. What's a battle pass? It's sort of like it's like it's like a reward track. So you do things by playing the game, and you get like experience or whatever, and you level up, and then as you level up, you get the rewards. So the idea usually, especially with the paid ones, is if you don't get to the end, like it might be one for every month, it could be one for Stowe. I think you'd want to go for every year, have a yearly one. And then have the event campaign reward be the thing at the end of it. That way people could complete it early if they want to. And usually with ones that are paid, if you don't make it to the end when the time period is up, they just give you the rewards because you did pay for them. But you have the chance to earn them early if you play a lot. But the big benefit of a battle pass is that you can play the game the way you want to and earn the rewards instead of having it, if you can't play. A lot of times they do events during holidays. People will be out of town and stuff. So it would definitely make quality of life easier for that stuff, but they're probably not going to do it. Yeah. Have a drink here and see if any more questions come in. But yeah, definitely, I think a battle pass would be a good idea. I don't think they're going to do it, but I do think it would be a good idea. You could even have, one of the things I like is one of the other games I like to play is Hearthstone. You get a free battle pass plus a paid battle pass. So everyone gets a battle pass, but if you pay for the paid version, you get more rewards. I think that's a good model, I think people would pay $60 to instantly unlock event campaign and have all the event rewards instantly upon each event starting. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. I mean, yeah, no one wants to do the events, right? Even if you like the event, even if you like the content, this was sort of one of the points I made in my last video essay, which is that you might like it, but if they have you do it 21 times, you're going to get tired of it way before the event's over. So having the option to get it early. Now, of course, that does sort of highlight the fact that all of the events and the stuff they have you do in the game isn't real content. It's just repetitive stuff that if people are willing to pay to bypass your content, it's not good content. I wrote a whole script on it and how potential backlash on the Battle Pass idea. Yeah, I'd be interested to see that. What are your thoughts on cryptic sort of ignore? Oh, hello, Cell. Did you sign up during the stream or did I miss you somewhere? I don't remember seeing you in my member list. So I don't know when you signed up, but welcome to the channel and thank you very much for joining the channel. What are your thoughts on cryptic sort of ignoring the state of the Dilex versus really driving the FOMO in the dilithium market the way they do it? The gamble box market would pay the light bill and help free to play. That's a great question. I'm actually surprised other people didn't ask about the Dilex. So my opinions on the Dilex are not very popular. A lot of you who are watching probably already know that. I think that DIL syncs are not the solution because, and I'm going to tell you why. I was actually thinking about doing a video on this. And I had 2 chocolate bunnies I was going to use, and one was white chocolate and one was a regular chocolate, and I was going to use them to differentiate, but then I realized I had already eaten the white chocolate one, so I couldn't do that anymore. But so here's the problem with DIL syncs, right? So the idea behind DIL syncs is that if you put out stuff that people want and it costs DIL to buy, and that what will happen is that you'll have people who want to get it, so they'll spend Zen on the Dilex in order to get dilithium so they can buy it, and that will help out the Dilex. And that is true. But in order for that to work, the thing that they have to add to the game that costs dilithium has to be of equal quality to the stuff they charge Zen for. Because imagine that you have Zen. Okay, so you have all these things that you can buy with Zen, and then they add a DIL sync and they add something that you can buy only with dilithium. But if that thing they add that you can only buy with dilithium isn't of the same quality of all the stuff you can buy with Zen, why would you trade your Zen for dilithium? You wouldn't. You would save it for the stuff that costs Zen. But if they put something in the game that costs dilithium that's just as good as the Zen stuff, then they're going to lose money because they've already pointed out that people have these huge stockpiles of dilithium. And initially it would appear, and I'm kind of riffing on a script I had in my head because I really was thinking about making this video. Initially it would appear to help the Dilex because what would happen is that, let's say they came out with a new ship, right? They were planning on making it a promo ship and they decide, we're going to add a DIL sync and we're going to put that in the game for dilithium. People who have a bunch of dilithium on the exchange right now because it's backlogged would cancel their orders to get their dilithium back so they could buy it. So in the short term, it would appear like it's helping the dilithium exchange, but it would just be a mirage. And the problem would just go back to the way it was after people bought the thing. This is why they always say, correctly, I might add, that it has to be a recurring expense and not a one-time thing. Because if it's a one-time thing, it will draw some dilithium out of the economy, but then you're just going to go right back to where you were before. It's not going to be a lasting solution. So I think the only real solution to the problem, and no one wants this, I understand that, is you have to put an account-wide limit on how much dilithium you can put on the exchange per day. So you have a patch, and then you cancel. They cancel every order on the exchange, refund everyone's dilithium and Zen, and then when the patch comes back up, each account can only put, let's say, 16,000 dilithium on the exchange per day. Will people find a way to get around that? Of course they will. But if you limit how much dilithium, because we have too much dilithium. If you limit how much dilithium people can refine, it's going to make them angry. If you limit how much dilithium people can earn, it's going to make them angry. So you really need to just bottleneck how much can go on the Dilex. It's a relatively inelegant solution, but it would definitely work. So that would be my... If I were king for a day and I had a magic wand, that's the solution that I would choose. Yeah. Yeah, we need a dilithium burn, like in Discovery. Guyman says Reddit hates me. I just AFK all those events in private. Yeah, I do too. The ones where you can do it, I do that. I might do it the first few days, but then once I get tired of it, I start AFKing in private. 21 days of a TFO you love is still going to be grating. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. They've found a way to make you hate things you enjoy. Reddit hates everyone now. Yeah, they do, but at least they're equal opportunity haters. I signed up earlier today. Well, thank you, Cell. Thank you so much for signing up. It is appreciated. I sent the rough draft to you on Discord. Let me know what you think of it. Yeah, definitely. After this, I'll take a look. White chocolate's better than brown chocolate. My wife doesn't agree with you, but I do. I like white chocolate.
Dark chocolate.
I used to get white chocolate bars just for myself, and I'd put them in the freezer. I am a white chocolate fan. Sorry, haters. Denny Tate says, yeah, the event campaign can be repetitive, but I have 15 characters and just do them for each character on down the list that you have to do the buyout, and you do have the buyout option as well. So the event system we have now is a huge improvement over what we used to have. One of the few times I rage quit the game, and I quit the game for like 6 months. It was before we have the current event system. And in the old system, there was no buyout. Generally, you didn't have as much leeway on the number of days you had to complete it. And you had to do it per character. They were not account unlock rewards. And they had a big dilithium payout at the end of it. And I had like 15 characters I was doing it on every day. It was a CCA event. And they don't take long. It takes like 90 seconds or 2 minutes per character or whatever. So it only took me like a half an hour to do it. But still, I would get on and go through 15 characters and do it every day. And I had it planned out because it was around a holiday. And I was going to have to leave town to go to Kansas to stay with my family. And there was no way I was going to be able to play while I was gone. So I had exactly enough days to do it. And then something happened. It was years ago, so I don't remember anymore. But something happened, and I didn't log in that day, and I missed it. So I was 1 day short. And I was so pissed, I quit the game, and I didn't come back for like 6 months. So the system we have now, where you have the buyout, and you have the prorated buyout. So if that had happened today, I would have been 1 day short, but then like even after the event ended, you'd pay like 100 Zen or whatever, and you would just get it, and it would be account unlocked. So the system we have now is definitely a huge improvement over what it used to be. Master keys and promo R&D packs could potentially be a solution if bought with dilithium or bank ship loadout slots. I do kind of agree with the people who said that Mud's Market destroyed some of this. If they had actually been putting everything that's gone into Mud's Market since it was released into the Phoenix boxes, I think that would have helped a lot. So I definitely think Mud's Market has screwed up the Dilex quite a bit. Great points, thanks. That was such a dick. I hadn't considered some of that since I'm a relatively recently returned player who started a new account. Sometimes starting over can be fun. I've done a couple of free-to-play things. I'm doing a free-to-play now, and it can always be fun to start over or have a side account or whatever. That's going back a few years. Yeah, it's definitely going back a few years. I mean, like at least 6 years, I think. It's a while, going back a while. See, I mean, I wasn't even doing YouTube back then. It was just me playing the game. CCA was good because it can be done so quickly. Yeah. You know, that used to be my routine, and I think most people's routine. You would log into the game, you would do Red Alert, because Red Alert was available all the time. So you do a Borg Red Alert, you do a CCA or whatever, and that would be like your rotation. It's just, the game is just not like that anymore. But yeah, part of me misses those days. Whenever they bring back the Red Alert events, I always think, why not just make the Red Alerts available all the time again? What is that really going to hurt? Remember the old mirror event? Yeah. It was time gated to 15 minutes. Or the original Breach. Oh man, that talk about painful. Especially if you had a bad group. The Zero candy bar is like a white chocolate Three Musketeers bar. If you haven't tried it, I have. And I liked white chocolate even when I was a kid. So I would take everyone else's Zero bars. That's a true story. I would go out trick-or-treating with my cousins and my brother, and I would get all of their Zero bars because no one else liked white chocolate but me. So it was a real payday for me. Oh, wait, not payday the candy bar. I'm a dad. I'm allowed to make those jokes. Cruise around sector space while waiting for red alerts. I used to go and unironically do, I don't even know what they're called anymore, but you can go out and find encounters or whatever they are. You know what I'm talking about? You can just fly around on the big map and you find these things and you just would. I used to do those a lot. I used to just fly around in my tier 5 Aatrox and go from one of those to another and just do that. Hey, MC Stu, welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining. I will reciprocate. Generally, I feel like YouTubers probably shouldn't join each other's channels because it's just us trading the same money back and forth, but giving YouTube a cut of it. But I do appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I will definitely reciprocate on your channel for sure. Big fan of yours and your content. The problem is 75% or 85% of the TFOs in the game are garbage. Some of them have grown on me over the years. When you stop viewing them, well, I mean, the random TFO system makes them more tolerable, I guess, because you're getting more. If you're doing it for marks, then it's like, well, I know I'm going to get the marks at the end of it. The ones that are frustrating is when you would do it and then you really didn't feel like, you know, if you had a hard time, like you did a gravity kills or whatever, and people didn't know what they were doing, and, you know, you had a hard time and it went on for 25 minutes or whatever, you would just feel like you didn't get anything out of it. Well, at least with the random TFO system, if I get put into a TFO that I don't like, at least I know the thing that I went in there for, I'm going to get. So it makes it feel better.
Well, now you can find out if
Approaching 1 a.m. here, so I'm off to bed. Have a great stream. Thank you so much, Atriaz. Thank you so much. Have a good night. They should add stuff like that to sector space. Yeah, I agree. They need more random dynamic content in general. The content in this game is just too static. K-Wolves just joined as an admiral. Thank you so much, K-Wolves. Welcome to the channel. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you won't regret it when you realize that it's, you know, you're not getting too much for your money, other than my charming personality, which I can't give away. MC Stud, you know, you changed your channel name. You used to be Casual SOB. He should totally change his channel name to McStud now. Just call him McStud now. He should change his channel picture to that one from the hotel room he posted that the other Stu posted on Twitter of him slapped up against the window. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I've been following your guys' adventures on Twitter. I haven't said too much, but it looks like you guys are having a blast. I mean, I probably would have enjoyed it, but there's no way I'm flying to Chicago to go to a Star Trek thing. But I don't even know if you guys are still there. But I mean, I hope you guys are having a great time there. If you're still there with the other Stu, say hi for me. Yeah, McStud, definitely. No one can compete, man. Hide your daughters. We got. And sons. We got McStud on the loose. The Kithria has also joined the channel. Thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Welcome to the channel. Thank you. Gravity Kills is one of those TFOs that everyone hates, but if you're in a good group to know what they're doing, it's actually fun. Yeah, I mean, like I was saying earlier, I've come to appreciate some of those TFOs that people generally hate. If you do it right, they tend to be pretty fun. It's just that usually the problem with them isn't the TFO. It's that it requires teamwork, and the other random people on your team don't know what they're doing. I've been seriously considering it, but I don't want to seem conceited. You just need that D at the end. You're so close. You're already MCSTU. I've been playing Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker saga, and for my $40, I'm getting a lot more than a tier 6 ship would give me. I was just talking about this with my wife earlier today, and it's like one of my favorite games is Red Dead Redemption 2. That cost me $60. I got like 120 hours of motion capture, voice-acted story that's one of the best video game stories I've ever seen. The graphics are amazing, and that only costs $60. And there's an online version that you never have to pay for the server costs. You compare that to like, something you buy in Star Trek Online. It's like, maybe that's not a fair comparison, but it's like, yeah, for your money, you could get a lot more somewhere else. MC Stu, blame Triz if you do it. Yeah, I think that's standard operating procedure is to just blame Triz for everything, right? He seems like such a nice guy and everyone picks on him. Your videos keep me from rage quitting roughly twice a week. Well, if I ever stop posting twice a week, you might rage quit, so I guess I'm going to have to keep posting. Also, the TFOs usually require you to pay close attention to a briefing, and people don't like that, especially during the setup. Yeah, that's true. Because most of them do explain to you what you're supposed to do, and in fact, they don't let you do anything. You're trapped there for like a minute while they give you a chance to read the instructions, and people still don't do it. That might be an interesting question. Do you think the traditional MMO Trinity... Sorry, I keep looking down. For people who weren't here earlier, I'm reading chat on my phone. So sorry about that. All you're getting is just a view of me looking down. Do you think the traditional MMO Trinity role should exist in STO? This should be better. That way you can actually see me reading. I should have been doing this the whole time. That might be an interesting question. Do you think the traditional MMO Trinity role should exist in STO, or do you think it does but is undercooked, or what are your views? I think it's one of the strengths of the game that it doesn't do that. Not because the MMO Trinity is bad. It's obviously classic for a reason. It's a great model. I like playing World of Warcraft. I came back for Classic. I haven't played it in a while now. But I played it a lot from vanilla all the way through WoD. And then I came back periodically after that. And then I came back for Classic. So I played a lot of Trinity MMO. And it's a great system, but everyone uses it. So I think the fact that Star Trek Online doesn't have that, and it has its own sort of a thing going on. I mean, we do have tanks, we do have support, so you could kind of argue it's similar, but not really. It doesn't really operate the same way that it does in other games, and it's not baked into the game the way it is in a lot of other games. So it's sort of like player defined. What makes a support build, what makes a tank, that's really kind of been the players who've decided that. And tanks have had various different attributes over the years. Percentage of damage taken in or percentage of attacks taken in isn't necessarily the be-all, end-all metric anymore. Suppression barrage is more like damage reduction and stuff like that. Debuffing becomes a part of not only the tank, but also the support, and timing your crowd control abilities and stuff. So it's a bit more dynamic, and because any ship can do, maybe not very well, but you're not trapped in a particular career, you're not trapped in a particular playstyle because of the ship you use. So it's a more fluid type of thing. It's different than you see in other games, and I really do think that it's a benefit of the game that it's not like that. So yeah, I would not encourage them to try and put more Trinity aspects into the game. I think it's better without it. Yeah, totally agree. Well, this has been great so far. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've gotten like 4 new members, so that's been amazing. I really appreciate everyone who's joined tonight. And that's really great. So I was a little bit worried that people wouldn't be around, they wouldn't have time to come in, and I thought maybe not too many people would be in the chat, but it's been a very lively chat. It's been very engaging, so I'm having a great time. So if people have more to say, or you have more, it doesn't have to be questions. If people want to keep chatting, I'm definitely here for it. So, all right, it's Coaster Fall again. That's a reference to that the last time I did a stream, if anyone remembers that. The condensation makes it stick. Yes, this is a Zelda coaster, by the way. So, yeah, my son got these for me as a gift. So, very partial to these. But that's information that you definitely needed to know. Yeah, I also agree. No long DPS queue times or feeling trapped into a class or role. That's another problem with games like World of Warcraft where you're sort of locked in. I mean, some classes can do multiple roles, but it's like if you pick a class that can't heal or can't tank or whatever, and then you change your mind, you have to roll a whole new character and level them all the way up and everything, or buy a level 60 boost or whatever. So you're not as trapped in your role, especially with your gear. Because in that game, it's not like you don't need gear here. Like people use different gear in Star Trek Online for different roles for sure. But like the amount of time and effort and luck you need to get the best in slot gear in a game like WoW for your role is really high. And then you need the enchantments and all the other stuff on top of that. So switching roles is not easy at all in a game like that, whereas it's relatively speaking very easy in a game like Star Trek Online. So, and Spencer's put out a lot of good guide videos like how to tank, how to do support, and all that stuff. So the resources are out there, and the Stowe Builds Discord. So there's a lot of great resources out there for people who want to try different things, people who want to tank, for people who want to do support. There's definitely a lot of stuff out there to help them figure out what they need to do and how to play and all that kind of stuff. So definitely one of the best things about the game is the community and all of the stuff the community has built around the game, and the parsers and the tools and the Discord communities and all of that stuff is definitely a highlight. You mentioned earlier that you want to make content you wish other Stowe tubers didn't. You wrote Q there. A lot of that was brought on by He Who Shall Not Be Named, aka Lumberdog, aka Timberwolf, because when I got into the game, well, not when I got into the game, but I guess at the time, because Brent Justice is who got me into the game, and I was casual for a couple of years and didn't really play it that much, but at the time where I was starting to get more serious about trying to make a good build and all that kind of stuff, Timberwolf was really popular. Even by today's standards, he would have been very popular. I mean, I think McStud might be rivaling him at this point for subscriber count, but he was a pretty big name in the community. And so if you were watching performance-oriented stuff, his videos were very popular. They weren't necessarily the best, but they were very popular. So, of course, I found them. And, he would make all these budget videos that required you to have a bunch of event prizes from the previous year. And I understood the reasoning behind that, but as someone who didn't have a lot of that stuff, it was always like, well, okay, you're presenting this like this is the bare minimum, but I still can't do it because I don't have half of this stuff. And I had no way of knowing whether that stuff was important or not. Like a lot of that stuff probably didn't really matter if I didn't have it or not, but I didn't know better. All I knew is that anytime I looked at any video, I found something that was not applicable to me. So that's an issue. Rob934, welcome to the channel. Thank you very much for joining at the Admiral level. I appreciate it very, very much. What has bothered me from the first day is that basically every piece of loot is automatic vendor trash. Yeah, that's definitely true. Almost everything useful is gate kept behind reputations or Zen with a few decent Phoenix items. The salvage system has fixed that a little bit. I mean, you could always sell it for EC, like you were saying, vendor trash. I think having the option to salvage has made that a little bit better. But yeah, generally speaking, I tend to pass. Even on my free-to-play account, I pass on loot when I'm in TFOs. I don't even want it. I just pass on it. Spencer sent you? Was it Spencer for Hire? Because it's a TV show that Cisco used to be on. I played hardcore WoW for 15 years, Guildmaster, US rankings, and not needing to deal with that kind of gear train and biannual reset and stow is part of what drew me in. Yeah, I could definitely understand that for sure. What kind of content do you think is missing from the community? So I kind of stopped halfway through my response there. But I guess that's what initially motivated me, was that there was videos that I wanted to watch that would have been beneficial to me that no one was making. And my very first video ever on the channel, and it's still up, I think you can go back and watch it, and I wouldn't recommend it because it's terrible. Obviously, it was my first video. I had found a Tour the Galaxy, back when Tour the Galaxy was relevant, guide, and it was for both quadrants. And you had to have all this special gear and stuff, warp core and everything. And I didn't have that, so I sort of modified it to fit my needs, and I realized I could do the whole beta quadrant by myself. And I sort of figured out a few tips and tricks that I didn't see anywhere else about just sort of the peculiarities of the game, and you have to be sort of where to line up when you start, and how close to get and when to hit the buttons and all that kind of stuff. It's not really important, but I had kind of worked out the best solution for me for someone who didn't have those resources. And so I put up a guide on how to do Tour the Galaxy for just the beta quadrant with a very low cost of entry, and sort of included the sort of tips and tricks that I had figured out. And so that was my first attempt at, like, here's a video that I wish I had found that no one had made. I wish there was high-end gear drops and rewards, but I think that would require creating some new items. I think it would be great if they really expanded the R&D and crafting system, especially if they allowed it to have some social aspect where people were incentivized to trade things and work together, and just add any way they can possibly inject more of a social aspect into the game. I think would make the game better. My issue with the high-end stuff now is that it's hard for me to take the builds I'm actually using and sharing those publicly. High-end is so disconnected from even most DPS players now. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on it. You're the expert. But this is Spencer talking. I think if I had to guess, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's mostly due to the high-end stuff at your level, at the top-end level, being team-based. And so, the build almost, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but it's like it's just one piece of the puzzle. It's the whole team. So, it's always pointed out that you can replicate someone's build perfectly, but you're not going to get the same results. So, the build almost it's not irrelevant, but it's just one piece of the puzzle. So you can share your build, but that doesn't mean it's going to be useful to someone if they don't have a team of people backing them up. A lot of the best stuff in Rep or Zen is in gamble boxes, and plus you guys are doing stuff that's so cutting edge and small percentages and everything like that even if you did have a team of people, it would be hard to replicate. A lot of the best stuff in the Rep or Zen is in gamble boxes, since Cryptic does need to drive the Zen sales every week. Going back to what Gouty Man asked, and it's not really true because he said, what content do I think the community is missing? I don't think it's missing, and actually Augmented Dictator has been doing some reputation guide videos recently, so I'm kind of glad to see him diversifying his content. But I think that there's an assumption that all the good stuff is paywalled, and it's not true. The reputation system is the key to an enormous amount of good stuff that I think people just don't have the patience to unlock, because it does take several months to get it all unlocked. And so there's the fleet stuff as well. A lot of really good stuff you can get for free. And I think more attention needs to be paid, or more people need to be saying, hey, a video I made years ago, a DPS video, I think I took it down because it just wasn't very good. But I was saying, like, people will go out and spend $200 on the DPRM console, but they aren't using batteries. And it's like people aren't doing the low-hanging stuff that's free because they think that they have to have the big expensive thing, and it's just not true at all. So you sort out the free easy stuff first, and then worry about buying stuff that you don't need. A collection of all loot I can salvage, and it is used to craft all my gear. I can craft gear at lower level, but very rare quality, and upgrade it to the higher level. There's a lot of tips and tricks when it comes to doing that stuff. Like generally, you want to make things at the lowest level possible. So you want to have Mark II gear. If you're going to make it, you want to make it at Mark II. And for that reason, people will take weapon packs and open it on low-level characters in order to ensure that they get a lower mark item, because when you upgrade it, that you'll get more chances to get a rarity upgrade along the way. So there are some tips and tricks for that. I can't go over all of it right now. I think Spencer might have some videos on that that's really good in terms of how to get the most out of the crafting system and upgrading your gear. Yeah, team-based, less than a dozen people doing the really high-end stuff now. There's a part of me that's like, oh, I should get more into that and find time to do it and stuff, because I used to carve out time to do raiding, and I guess I could carve out time to go do high-end runs. I certainly have the stuff for it. I don't have everything, 100% of the stuff, but I have stuff that's probably good enough. It's hard, obviously, restarting all the time, and everyone always brings up the fact that you have to wait 30 minutes if you trigger the lockout, so then people are trying to leave early and not trigger the 30-minute lockout, and that's why you have to have multiple characters so that you can switch characters in order to deal with the lockout and all that. And at least on HSC, you can warp out before you search for the escape pods and stuff, but it does seem like it's probably pretty frustrating experience. I'm not saying that's why people aren't doing it. For one thing, I don't know this is a good question for you. I know this is a Q&A stream for me, but here's a question for Spencer. What do you think, for someone trying to do maybe not necessarily DPS but for any role, DPS, support, tanking, whatever, what do you think is the least? Now, eventually you could grind out anything, grind out EC and buy it on the exchange, but I'm talking about money. You're a new player who comes in, you're going to put the time in to get your reputations and all that, but what's like the least amount of money you'd have to spend to be able to perform at that level? And I think that may also be a barrier to entry, is that people can't afford it. People can't afford to play at that level. I think what's missing is lore videos. A true in-depth start-to-finish guide on how to play the game from noob to Augie, Space Barbie stuff, a free-to-play series that relies on what you get from the base game and uses a tier 5 ship you get from leveling. One interesting thing around that is when I started my free-to-play this time around, I put out a poll and asked people, do you want this to be more of a tutorial series where every video is me like covering, some kind of a tutorial on what I'm doing at that point in the game? Or did they want it to be more of a let's play where it was more of a story and more of me documenting my experience? And most people said that they would rather have a let's play style series. So I don't know what that means for the general appetite of that kind of content, but I know that was the least popular option of those two options that I gave people. I do think that would be good content to do, though. I want to make high-end more accessible later this year, going to revamp the DPS channels and have Prime focused on record environment. Several hundred for sure. The traits needed for those builds are an issue for new people. Sad is easier now, but cold-hearted is still cash. Unless you're an OG gangster like me who got it when the event was new, which you probably did too, but at this point, a lot of people probably weren't around back then. Exactly, by the time I upgraded my crafted gear to Mark 15, it's ultra rare, if not epic. Yeah, that's true. And the earlier the lower mark you start out, the better chance you have of epicing it out by the time it gets to Mark 15. Edward Brick just joined the channel. Thank you so much for becoming a member at the Admiral level. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for being here. And this is a Q&A stream, so any of my new channel members who joined tonight, feel free to get in here and ask your questions. Ask whatever questions you want, and I'll be happy to answer them. Good evening, Deander. Does it work now? Since I have some heavy... I think, did I miss an exchange somewhere?
No, that person is
Oh,
Deander.
since I have some heavy problems with my main account, it seems like I am not able to send any messages from my main account. Oh, okay. I'm sorry to hear that. I don't know. Fortunately, I don't think I have any way to help you with that. What do you even get from doing elite content reward wise? I never found people to try it. There's maybe 3 answers to that. So two of the answers have nothing to do with rewards. So one reason people play elite content is that they're DPS chasing, and doing it on elite is sort of where you're going to get the biggest numbers and the most satisfying results. So they're not playing it for the rewards, they're playing it because that's the best place to do DPS. The other answer is that you can get better crafting materials, which are exclusive to elite rewards, but really though, it's not a good enough reward, to be honest. No one's gonna, because elite is a way higher difficulty than advanced for most things. So the tiny increase in rewards is not worth it for those R&D boxes that you get. The third reason, which is why, like when I do patrols on my main account, or do I do single player content, I do it on elite, but that's only because I'm so advanced in the game and I have so much stuff that advanced is too easy, and so it's more boring. So I play elite on solo content because it just gives me more of a challenge, and I just think it's more enjoyable. But it certainly isn't for the rewards, I could tell you that. That's a good idea for content pieces, though, going over the price of builds. Yeah, definitely think that would be good. You know, I was gonna, I probably, this is something more for a private Discord conversation, but whether it was you or me, I have my free-to-play rules, that where I say what is allowed for free-to-play. And because of the thing I was talking about earlier, where people include event rewards for free-to-play, but not everyone has that if they miss the event. So I exclude a lot of that stuff. I wonder, you take a high-end supported run, so you get like the 4 best players, in the game to do support and tanking and all that, and the DPS player is doing a free-to-play build. What's the biggest number you can put up with someone doing DPS? Who probably the tank would do more damage, I imagine, but I wonder how high a number we can pump up with a free-to-play build. That would be an interesting video to do at some point. Yeah. My wife figured that out faster than I did, Edward. That you're Deander. I knew you were already a channel member. I feel bad that you're subscribed, or you're a member now on 2 different accounts. Just because you couldn't figure out how to get your messaging to work. So I'm sorry about that. If you get it sorted out, definitely cancel one of them. No one should be paying me twice. I understand what your poll results were, and I was very taken back. However, I feel people who are looking for that probably aren't watching our content, at least based on my Reddit sleuthing. It's hard to know what people want, and I always think, on the one hand, you should make the videos your audience wants to watch, but on the other hand, you should also make the videos that are true to you, and then your audience will find you. You're never going to please everyone, so don't try. Just make the best videos you can, your audience will find you, and then make your videos for those people. Let's get caught up here. So yeah, Mike Sharp, or Sharpie, I don't know. I don't want to mispronounce your name, but thank you very much for joining. Joined as a captain. Welcome to the channel. Thank you very much for joining. Obviously, feel free to ask any questions. I think you see one. I'll get to it here in a moment. Spencer said to ask you about your thoughts on promos. I assume you mean promo ships. So my feeling on promo ships is that they've gotten better over time. Some of them have aged well just because of the way that the game balance has gone. But, my feeling overall is sort of the same as lockbox ships, which is to say that because it's gambling involved, I think it's predatory. And even if they were to just charge the expected cost, which would be $200 to $300, it's outrageous. It's an outrageous amount of money. So I think that no matter how good a promo ship is, it's never worth the money, and it definitely shouldn't exist as part of a predatory gambling scheme. No, my main account, Deandra, is not able to send any messages. I'm so sorry to hear that. Like, I still have problems with it since the start of YouTube live streams. Oh, that's terrible. Maybe you should cancel your membership on that account and you can just use this one to send messages. But now my question I tried to post. Will you do a top 5 or a top 10 ship trait video? And if yes, when do you think you will do it? Let's see here. I can do that for sure. The question is, what do you think, given my stances recently, should it be top 5 or top 10 C-store only? Or should it be top 5, 10 traits in the game, period? And part of my difficulty around that is that older promo and premium ships can be gotten through event rewards. So maybe I would include anything from the C-store, anything from an event, and anything that can be gotten through an event campaign reward. So like I would exclude anything that's coming out this year, for example. But maybe that's the way I would do it. I'm definitely open to doing that video. Thank you for the suggestion. As for when it will get done, I don't know exactly. Probably a couple of weeks. But I will definitely add it to the list because I think it's a great idea. And thank you for suggesting it. Okay, so let me get to Mike Sharp's question because he joined and he asked a question. I want to get to that real quick. I thought top tier tanks used tier 2 weapons. Spencer can answer that better than I can if he's still in the chat. But what I will say is that I don't know if that's true. I don't think it's true. Builds that I've seen on the Stowe Builds Discord did not have Mark II weapons as far as I can remember. I mean, you don't have to have Mark 15 weapons. It doesn't make much of a difference. Suppression Barrage is going to be equally effective no matter what Mark level your weapons are, but I don't think they do. I think they still use Mark 15 weapons. Another thing to consider is that the time crunch is a big deal. So, for example, you want to get the most uptime out of your consoles and limited time effects as you can. So even though you're trying to pump up the DPS of just one person, the more total DPS you have in the group, the faster the queue is going to end, and the more it's going to enable you to increase the overall uptime on your limited time buffs. So I don't know that I don't think that using lower mark weapons to like not steal damage from the DPS player, if that's the thinking, I don't know if that's really a thing. Okay, he's weighing in here. Some of the support tanks run Mark II, some run Mark 15. The Mark II is more for left-right runs at the 1.7 million plus range. So, okay, so apparently it is a thing for the new split runs. I have to admit, I haven't really been following along as closely since people started doing the split runs, which I should probably do. But, yeah, it definitely couldn't hurt. You don't need Mark 15 weapons to get the most out of the abilities that the tank is trying to do. You want Gravity Well for crowd control. You want Suppression Barrage to reduce incoming damage and all that stuff. You don't need Mark 15 weapons for that, so it totally makes sense to me. K-Wolves said, with a full free-to-play player, we could get them to 1.5 mil. I'm sure if they were to grind out some things. I think that would be fascinating. I think that would make an excellent video, and I definitely want to be a part of that at some point. Whether I'm the one doing the DPS or not, I don't really care, but I just think it's a brilliant idea. If I do say so myself, people are gonna start leaving the channel. What an arrogant prick! He thinks he's talking about how good his own ideas are. Gouty Man upgraded to Admiral level. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I don't remember if you have channel memberships. I don't think you are eligible yet, but if you do get eligible for channel memberships, I'll definitely come reciprocate. So thank you very much for that. We've already done it with McStew's free-to-play account. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. McStew already did a bunch of extremely helpful tutorials at the time of the free-to-play content poll. That's why I voted for the Let's Play format. Okay. I do watch his videos. I'm ashamed to say I don't watch every video that every StoTuber puts out, unfortunately. You know, I don't have enough time for that, but I watch as much as I can. And I definitely watch his tutorials because he puts out really good stuff. And I've always said when people have asked if they're looking for the best StoTuber for new players, I always point them to MC Stu because I think he does the best content for that. Do you think Cryptic has backed themselves into a corner with their business model? They seem to be forcing themselves into MUD's pricing because they need to drive more money out of fewer people. Yeah, I do. I do think that. I do think they backed themselves into a corner. And like I said earlier, I think they are doubling down on that. And they're trying to get more and more money from fewer and fewer people. And that creates a vulnerability, a financial vulnerability for them. Because when you have less people who are providing you with the majority of your income, it takes fewer of them to just decide to quit the game to really cause big problems. You can see that in real life. What's the example I'm thinking of? It was it New Jersey? So they had a billionaire who moved out of state, and the loss of tax revenue from that one person caused them to have to change the state budget for the year. So, you know, if you rely too much on a small number of people for your revenue, you do open yourself up to the possibility that they will leave or switch games or whatever, and then you are in big trouble. Whereas if you're getting a small amount of money from a lot of players, it's going to ebb and flow, obviously, but it's just a lot more secure. We tried it, but we run into the problem where the tank was fighting with the main DPS for threat. Yeah, because if you're doing a free-to-play DPS, you're not doing enough damage to create enough threat. That's why I was saying earlier, the tank might be doing more DPS than the DPS player. I mean, probably not. That's an exaggeration, of course. But yeah, I could see how that would be a problem. Definitely. Sorry, I'm trying to get caught up here. I said I was going to hold it up, and then I stopped doing it because I'm a professional. Include anything you can think of? Oh, for the top 5 or 10 list? Yeah, definitely. Okay, yeah. I think that's the plan I'm going to go with. I'll include anything that's not gambling, and I'll include gambling stuff that is available as event campaign, but not anything that isn't. Okay, we got a parse put in here, and let me find him. There's Spencer, K-Wolves, Nick. Who's the free-to-play there? That's a parse from a free-to-play run we've done. Obviously, I should just be able to look at the numbers and figure it out. We've got 115, 28, 19, 14, 12, so 1.15 mil. I guess that would be the, is that the damage? Oh, no, the DPS, 1.13, okay. 1.13 million DPS for free-to-play. That's pretty good. You can get over 1 million DPS completely free-to-play. So a lot of people who haven't even made it to 1 million. Imagine the shame of being someone who hasn't even made it to 1 million DPS. Imagine that. Imagine if you had the stuff and you actually did a bunch of runs and you couldn't make it to 1 million DPS. When someone could do it on free-to-play. For some reason, I feel like someone's pointing to me. I don't know. I guess I haven't tried that hard. How's that for an excuse? I mean, I haven't, but I tend to only do channel runs. And you're not likely to get 1 million DPS in a channel run, even if you're doing your best. All right. Well, I think I'm finally caught up on the chat, but more people feel free to keep going, guys. There's 45 people in the chat, or 45 people watching, I should say. Maybe not 45 people in the chat. Remember, though, that this is a fully supported proper run. Yeah, no, the difference between a supported run and a channel run is enormous. You're talking about like 3-4 times multiplier, I would think. Because I've been in plenty of channel runs with Spencer where he's doing, 500K, when we know he's doing close to 3 million now. So it's definitely a big multiplier to have all that support, to have the damage resistance reduction, and to have the compressed parse times, and to just have the crowd control and all that stuff. Here's a thought. Maybe Cryptic could actually offer microtransactions worth the name and offer items for less than 3,000 Zen, like consoles or ship skins, without actually getting the ship. That's a good idea, because if you go into the ship tailor and you try to kit bash with parts that you don't own, it'll have that little button in the corner that says, you can pay whatever Zen. But really all it's telling you to do is to buy the other ship so you can get the kit bash options. And, what if you could just buy the skin for 500 Zen or whatever? Just only buy the kit bash options. That would probably sell pretty well. That's actually a really good idea. Nobody in the run stealing concentrate firepower procs, and also giving you extra concentrate firepower procs. You have extra people running concentrate firepower, don't even have a torpedo. Spencer is just a robot and continues to update his robot coding. Yeah. Makes running torp boats and channel runs rough if other people are using it. I haven't been doing too many parsing this year, actually. But when I was doing a lot more channel runs, I would get people who said no torp players, because they were setting up the run and they were using torpedoes, so they didn't want to let anyone else joining who was also using it, because they didn't want anyone else also doing torpedoes. So yeah, it's definitely a problem. Not a problem, but this is what you get when you coordinate with people versus every man for himself. Also, be a high-end paid player using a free-to-play account makes a difference. Yeah. A high-end paid player using a free-to-play account. I'm not quite sure I understand that. How can you be a paid player using a free-to-play account? I think I misunderstood you there. Sorry. I think what maybe we're trying to say is what Spencer does. He spends money on the game, but there are people who are free to play, but they have a lot of the paid stuff because they grinded it out. I don't know if that's what you're saying for sure. You could correct me though. Yeah, every time I see the 30,000 Zen or button in the ship tailor, I get a little heart attack. Yeah, because if it's if it's one of the anniversary ships, it would be like 30,000 Zen, because it wants you to buy the whole freaking anniversary bundle in order to get the one ship skin. Hoodwinked has joined the channel at the Admiral level. Thank you so much, Hoodwinked. Welcome to the channel. Hopefully you won't regret it. And now that you're here, feel free to ask any question you want to your heart's content. I really appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me, for the second or third time, remember to hold the phone up while I'm asking questions, to make it clear that I'm reading them off my phone and I'm not just this low energy. Just, oh, thanks for joining the channel. Let me fall asleep here. What I've always wanted to do, but do not have the knowledge to do, is make a build that any player can use and would only consist of reputation, fleet, and mission gear that would get you through Elite. So I've done a little bit of that. Some of my free-to-play builds are basically what you just described: reputation, fleet, and mission gear. And some of them are more than capable of doing Elite content. Not necessarily every Elite TFO, not necessarily every Elite patrol or mission, but they can definitely do some Elite content. In terms of solo Elite TFOs, probably not. Starbase 1 is one that's pretty easy to do solo, because I think it scales off the number of players, so it doesn't really count. But I've definitely made some builds with that criteria that can do at least some solo single-player elite content on an engineer, because I mostly play on engineers, so you'd probably have a better time on a non-engineer. Part out the kit bash options, trait, platform, console, and equipment for 500, 1,000, 1,000, 1,000, or 3,000. So I get 500 for kit bash. Just to be able to individually buy the bits and bobs, or odds and ends if you're, American. Sometimes British people just have better sayings, Odds and ends is like the American way to say it, but the British have bits and bobs, and I just think that sounds better. If you could just buy a ship's console or its trait or its kit bash options without having to buy the whole thing, that would be great. I would love that. That's an amazing idea. McStud means a player... Sorry, I'm calling him McStud. McStud means a player who is used to high-end stuff playing on a free-to-play account will have a huge... Oh, yeah, okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, okay, I got you now. Playing on a free-to-play account will have a huge advantage over a normal free-to-play player that doesn't have the experience. I have 2 accounts. Fully understanding the paid min-max helps to get the most out of my free-to-play. Absolutely agree, 100%. And I think on my first free-to-play account, I mentioned something like that. I don't remember if I mentioned it at the time or if it was later on, but it was like, because I knew where I was going to end up, I had a lot more patience to get through things and to manage my resources than I would have had if I thought that I was just living in the moment. Like, I knew to grind out reputation marks in advance. I knew that even though I was dying a lot, that it was going to be temporary. I knew how much of an impact having the specialization trees filled out was going to make. I knew what an impact having the reputation gear and traits were going to make. And I knew all the stuff to get. So I laser focused in on only the good stuff, and I didn't waste time and resources on anything that wasn't good. And even then, it took a few months to really get all the pieces together. But once I did, it was like easy street. Advanced difficulty was a joke. And I was routinely, I got bored of that account, the first free-to-play thing that I did, because when I would do ISAs and random advanced difficulty, I was almost always the number 1 player, even on that free-to-play account, because I spent 3 months focusing on one particular build that I knew would be good, and I got everything for it. And then when it all lined up, it was sort of like, well, I can't really do anything else. I've used all my fleet ship modules and everything, so it's not like I can do this again. But what I had was already about as complete as it was going to get. So it was really good and really effective, but there was sort of just nothing else to do with it. So go down here. Engineer master career. Absolutely. I don't understand all these people who seem to think that they're going to play tactical. It's a misnomer, really, if you ask me. You would think tactical would be good at killing people, but when you look at the shows, what is the tactical? They're usually security. You guys are basically like,
Red shirts.
Yeah, you're red shirt. And what happens to red shirts in security? They get beat up because they're not very good at their job. Okay, you're basically just like overpaid security guards, really. Who saves the day? Engineers. Whenever there's a big problem, is it the tactical officer who's fixing it when the aliens beam over and they get their ass kicked? No, it's the engineer down in the engineering room who's techno-babbling the deflector to output a resonance frequency that's going to get through their shields. That's who actually wins the day. It's so obvious. It's been right there in front of you guys the whole time. Come to think of it, the thing that holds free-to-play players back is the complete lack of any starship traits. Yeah, that's a big part of it, for sure. No doubt. The lack of good starship traits is a huge... And personal space traits. Personal space traits is another thing. Now, if you can figure out... If you can get some for less than 15 million, or you manage to scrape up enough Zen to get the EC cap raised, you can eventually buy some good personal traits off the exchange. But yeah, definitely the starship trait thing is a big ceiling. Now, going back to what I was saying earlier, I think people do not take advantage of what they have available for free, but there will reach a point where that is probably the number one thing holding you back. I spent a few months building an account this year from essentially scratch and standing on the shoulders of giants with YouTube, Stow Better, Discord, etc. resources, and 15 years of MMO experience. And that sounds like fun. I had fun with my first free-to-play account, and I'm having fun with my current free-to-play account. And yeah, it can be pretty fun. For any game like this, starting over can be fun, right? Because you kind of get to relive starting over, and oftentimes progress is really fast in the beginning, because they make it easy for you when you're first starting, because they want you to stick around. You level up really quickly, you get rewards really quickly. They haven't put you in the meat grinder at the end where they're just trying to get money out of you. I don't really have any questions. I do wish Cryptic would add storage crates to the game so we could organize our banks. And I think that's a great idea. I think if I know what you're talking about here, feel free to correct me. You mean like for a particular item, so that you could stack more of it. Like we have the R&D tab where you can have just R&D stuff. I think you mean stuff like that, where you can have it for like more categories of stuff. Tactical officer gets beat up. Engineer officer saves the day. Science officer sits back and says, "I did warn you, Captain." Yeah, that seems accurate. Yeah, I see no flaw in that analysis whatsoever. It's only logical. That's just to go on a quick aside that no one asked for. As a math person who went to college for math, I personally blame Spock for giving the general public the wrong understanding of the word logic for multiple generations. What people think the word logic means is not what it means, and I blame Star Trek and Spock for that, even though I love Star Trek. It says, "Oh, that's that's not logical." That's not what logic is, Spock. You don't know what you're talking about. Logic is more to do with the structure of your argument, and than it does with whether it's reasonable or not. I tried starting over, but I felt really bad for all the money I put into my main, so the alt became a lobby mule with the event campaign. Yeah, I know people do that. If you have more than one account and you're willing to do that, you can get the lobby on an alt account and then, buy stuff with it that's not account bound and send it over to your main account. I'm free to play. I'm doing it again. I never learn. I'm like our cat. Our cat has pica, which means that she eats things that's not food, which is frustrating to us because she's already had to go to the vet this year. She eats shoelaces and all kinds of other stuff. She ate one of my shoelaces today, which is my fault for not putting it away. But she never learns, and I never learn. I keep reading the comments like this instead of holding my phone up. I'm free to play and have a lot of starship traits using tier 6 ship tokens and upgrade tokens as rewards. They do offer a lot of that stuff now. It's definitely easier to get that stuff than it used to be, where essentially in the past it was actually impossible. But with the event campaign, you actually can get some of that stuff every year. And they do offer the captain tokens and the tier 6X tokens and stuff as event campaign rewards. So it is possible as a free-to-player to get some of that stuff. What Spock meant by logical is actually rational. Yeah, exactly. He just means rational, not logic. It's not actually logical. Logic is stuff like, for all potatoes, there exists a salad dressing, something, blah, blah, blah. And then, you use the structure of the argument to determine whether it's a valid argument, whether it's a tautology, all of that kind of stuff. It's not like, oh, you're reckless, but you're being conservative right now, so that's illogical. That's not, what are you talking about, Spock? it's way more subjective the way most people use it than it's actually is in academically. God, just when you thought this stream couldn't get any more exciting, I start bitching about logic stuff.
What is your opinion on meteors versus
Oh yeah, my wife just brought up something. So one of the funniest things I think has ever happened. I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about people who are being pedantic and nerdy. So they were covering a story where they said, this is what they said. They said that someone got hit in the head by a meteorite, right? And you're thinking, that's crazy, right? Like a meteorite hit someone in the head. And someone sent in a response that said, actually, it's not a meteorite until it touches the earth. It's still a meteor. Until it touches the earth, it's not a meteorite. So that person was not struck by a meteorite. They were struck by a meteor. That is the most amazing thing, hilarious, amazing thing that has ever happened in the history of the earth, and I won't hear otherwise. Spock's logic is like Klingon honor, a convenient excuse for getting the point across. Yeah, that definitely sounds right. It makes you realize that as smart and creative and talented as a lot of the writers are, usually more than me for sure, they are limited by their own their own knowledge and experiences. So sometimes, there's always, you see shows like that where people like, a real forensic analyst will review TV shows and they're like, you got it all wrong, but the writers of TV shows aren't experts in everything they're writing about, so they get stuff wrong. How many people can you sit at a dinner table with 6 seats if Stacy hates Jim, but Jim doesn't like Amy, and I'm going to stop? I mean, I would question why you're inviting so many people over to dinner who don't like each other, but Klingon honor is not for humans to interpret, good question, or their gods, because as we all know, Klingons killed their gods for being a pain in the ass. Correct. Struck by a meteor. That's right. Get it right. Okay. Fake news. This is why people hate the news. You think you can trust them, and then they tell you someone was struck by a meteorite. Idiots. Do you know what happened to Counter YOLO? He was part of us Engineer Corps. I don't know exactly, and I don't want to speak for him. He put out some community posts where he was talking about how he wanted to change his content and change his channel. And he still posts sometimes. Like, you'll still see him post on Reddit. He'll still make community posts once in a while. He still posts things on Twitter sometimes. So he's definitely still playing the game and he's still active. But he was kind of posting really irregularly anyway. Like, his videos were pretty few and far between as it was. So I don't know exactly what's going on for him, and like I said a moment ago, I'm not going to speak for him, so I don't know exactly what happened with him, but I don't think he's quit, and I think he's still part of the conversation, but he's either in the process of changing his content, or he's just kind of stopped making content. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm going to keep the stream going for about 10 more minutes, and then I am going to have to wrap it up, but I'm having a great time, so keep the comments and the questions coming. And I'm going to pour myself some more apple juice. That's right, Old Forester brand apple juice that comes in a whiskey bottle. Don't advertiser-friendly apple juice. Since I started playing Stowe, I always stick with my first character, a tactical Vulcan who has problems with controlling his emotions. I just looked up the date and it's been 9 years now. That's pretty cool. I do like it when people have a little bit of backstory to their character. I'm pretty boring and mine doesn't. My main character's name is my real life name, and I tried to make him look as close to me as I possibly could. And the reason why I picked an engineer had nothing to do with gameplay, because I didn't know the difference. I mean, I was just starting the game. I had no idea. But because I'm a mathy engineering guy in real life, I just figured, well, if I was actually in real life Starfleet, I would be an engineer. So, and that's despite the fact that I'm an Army veteran from an infantry unit. But I just figured my personality, I would be an engineer. So that's why I picked engineering. Nothing to do with gameplay, but here I am. Thankfully, I made the right choice and chose the best career. So that's very fortunate that it worked out that way. I can't handle all the... I'm reading this right after I just said that. I can't handle all the pro engineer statements here today. It hurts my immersion. Engineers must stick together. Love Count Yolo's content. Free feature-length Stowe documentaries. Well, you're definitely right about the feature-length part, but I will say one thing. I can't imagine how much work it took to make those videos he used to make, because they were like slideshows. And what a pain in the butt that must have been, especially recording it and all that. And God knows how many hours it would take to upload those. I get irritated waiting for a 5-minute video to upload. He's uploading these giant feature-length films. Brent Justice, who got me into the game, he used to release these epic videos. The preview video would be like 1 hour and 40 minutes. The preview video. And then he'd put out like a 2-hour video to follow that up. It was just insane. Like way more than was necessary. Apple juice fact. Okay, do love apple juice facts while I'm having some. Dean Martin was always drinking apple juice on TV. People thought it was bourbon, scotch, or whiskey. I definitely believe you on that one. Alcohol, it's not. They're drinking tea or apple juice or whatever. You know what bothered me? Well, it didn't bother me, but I did a joke video for a YouTube Shorts where I was responding to a comment by Warp Core. And at the time, I was drinking a bunch of martinis. Okay, now martinis are clear, okay, because it's gin and vermouth, if you make it right. We're not talking about trashy Applebee's crazy blue martinis. We're talking about an actual proper martini made from gin and dry vermouth. And they're clear. But for the purposes of that joke, I had my martini glass with water in it. Now, water is also clear. And someone in the comments called me on it that it was water in the martini glass. And I'm like, are you serious? How could you? Who's paying that much attention? It's clear liquid. Meteor, that's right. They're calling me out on my meteorite bullshit. If I was in Star Trek, I'd be the one fixing all the murderous holodeck characters. Yeah, definitely. Well, I don't know how many of you guys watch Steve Shives, but if you don't, he's a Star Trek YouTuber. He doesn't do anything with games, but he does videos about Star Trek, and a big fan of his, and he's done a couple of really amusing videos about how the holodecks always malfunction. I upload in 4K, and it takes over an hour for a 2 or 3 minute video. Holy God. I only just recently upgraded from 720 to 1080, so maybe in the year 3150 I'll get to 4K. But good Lord, an hour to upload a 3-minute video, no thank you. Or as we used to say when I was substitute teaching to the children, no thank you. None of that vodka crap. Yeah, that's right. A martini is made with gin, goddammit. If you make it with vodka, it's not a martini. Yeah, but in real life, Starfleet engineers get to do warp core stuff in between having to fix the holodecks going to murder mode again. That's right. They're always fixing something that's about to kill everyone, but at least there's some variety there. Fun fact about apple juice, I'm not going to pronounce that, which is part of every apple can trigger wild and clear dreams. So if you want to have wild and clear dreams, drink a glass of apple juice before you sleep. That's a good tip. I'm probably not going to do that, but that's a good tip. I used to get night terrors and wake up screaming in the middle of the night, which was really fun when I was in the Army and slept with a rifle in Iraq. Would have been nice if they had done something with the holodecks in this game. You kind of get a little bit of that with Into the Nexus, the episode with Geordi, where you go into the holodeck and fight the Borg, and it's supposed to be Barclay's program. So we do get like a smidgen of that, and then like in the tutorial, and some of the other missions, like there's some Bajor missions where you get to go into a holodeck. So they have done a little bit with it, and I think Operation Wolf is supposed to be a holodeck simulation. Also, Butterfly is not, maybe not Butterfly, but the one before it, I can't remember exactly now, but like you do like the simulation in a holodeck, you do like 3 simulations, and then you go do it for real, and of course the simulations weren't accurate. So they have done some holodeck stuff in the game. The holodecks are available on Deck 38, still waiting for them to work. I could see them adding like an on-demand holodeck thing where you character goes into the holodeck and you're able to, pick a program to run. That might be pretty entertaining. Running out of time here, only about 5 more minutes, but I was kind of plugging Steve Shives a minute ago, who I think makes good Star Trek content. But one thing I would really love, and you guys have probably seen me, I retweet all their tweets and I put posts on my community tab. Dominic Keating and Connor Trinier, who played Trip and Malcolm on Star Trek Enterprise, have a podcast, and it is amazing. And I mean, it's like the highlight of every Sunday for me now. They get people who used to be on the show, producers, ex-cast, to come in, and you may have seen some of the other podcasts that some of the other alumni have done. Like there's the Seventh Rule, which is DS9 alumni and stuff. This is, or the Delta Flyers, which is Tom and Harry. They have their own, and that's pretty good too. I like that one. But the Shuttle Pod show, which is the one that Dominic and Connor do, is miles above the rest. The production values are amazing, and those two are so charismatic and so fun to watch. It's so good. I cannot recommend it highly enough. So if you've seen me retweeting it or whatever, and you thought, I don't really, check it out. Just check it out once. If you like Star Trek, it's really, really good. I'm totally a fanboy. It's excellent. I highly, highly recommend it. Agree something with the holodeck for a new Halloween episode. That would be pretty cool. I do like some of the Halloween stuff they have in the game. Hope you never have to go there. I did once and nearly got assimilated by some hollow Borg. Yeah, the security... Doing it again. Yeah, the security features were down again. I hear about that happening at least once a week. I think I saw on Twitter, someone asked, would you rather have, if you could have one thing from Star Trek in real life, would you rather have a replicator, a transporter, or a holodeck? That's tough. And of course, they added the stipulation that you can't use the replicator to make the other ones. Sort of a no wishing for more wishes type thing, I guess. I don't know. That's really tough. I mean, transporter seems pretty good. Imagine not having to commute to work. Replicator, though. I mean, I love to cook, but that's a lot of hours of the day you get to save on that as well. Plus, you could replicate stuff that might be difficult or expensive to make. I mean, I don't know how much energy this stuff would consume. I'm probably taking it too seriously now. Replicator, transporter, or holodeck. The holodeck, though, I mean, it's a holodeck. Assuming it doesn't try to kill you every week like it does on the show, that's kind of hard to pass up too. Even though the replicator seems like the most boring one, I kind of feel like maybe the replicator has to be the choice, though. That's really, really tough. I think really it's between the replicator and the holodeck. I think the transporter is one I could give up. But then the other question is, how far can it transport you? And is it on demand to take you home? Like, could I just randomly go to Hawaii for lunch in the middle of the day anytime I wanted and then transport back home? I mean, that'd be pretty sweet too. So it's a pretty tough choice, I have to say. The thing is, the few times Cryptic is using the holodeck, they're just doing mission simulations. They should have been importing different style mini games into the holodeck. They should give us a TNG style Sherlock Holmes holodeck adventure. That would be pretty fun. Race car driving, pirate ships, so on and so forth. Yeah, if they use, yeah, you're right, because it's always simulations of stuff that could happen in the world. They don't give us any holodeck missions where it's stuff that wouldn't really happen, like you're in the Old West or whatever. So that could be an opportunity. I always thought a lot of the holodeck episodes on the TV shows were just the writers getting bored of writing Star Trek, so they decided to write a different TV show for a week. Go to ESD and wait for the medics to turn up at the holosuite and listen to the staff. They got that every day. Replicator means you ain't gotta work. That's a good point. You could replicate anything you need. Presumably, you could even replicate money. If you were the only person in the world who had a replicator, you could just replicate money and that wouldn't be a problem. So that's also very tempting. Holodeck, you'll never have to leave. Just work from home on the holodeck. Of course, the real life metaverse looks like total crap. I hope that never takes off, but could be something like that. Work from the holodeck. Transporter is voodoo science. It kills you and builds a clone of your atoms. That's a good point. Is it really you, or do you die and then it's just a replica of you? Who wants to take the chance? I don't. I'm going to read the last two comments here, and then I'm going to have to turn it off because I really got to go. Replicator or transporter would make your life better. The holodeck would give you a better fake life, Reg Barkley style. There's some words of wisdom there. So if we take that into consideration, I think maybe the replicator is the winner. Replicator, replicate gold and platinum, can be used to live a great life in the real world. That's very, very true. Stowe SFK says he would take the chance on the transporter. And who would ever know? Your duplicate wouldn't even know that the old you died, and neither would anyone else. It's kind of horrifying when you think about it. And so we're going to end it off on that note. Thank you again. Thank you, everyone who joined the channel. Thank you to everyone who joined tonight. Thank you to everyone who submitted a question. I really appreciate it. I had a great time. And we're definitely going to have to do this again. And some of the video suggestions that people left, I will put on my list. So have a good night. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. As always, take care of yourselves, and bye for now.